Good morning, all. We have a wonderful discussion this morning on a topic that is important to each of us in this room, in fact, each of us in this country. Our first presenter is Kate Bryan. Kate is a communication strategist and writer living in Washington, D.C. She holds her bachelor's degree from Franciscan University in Steubenville, Ohio. But she also attended and received a political communications master's degree from the Dublin Institute in Ireland. She previously worked at the American Principles Project and at Live Action. She also worked in the Senate in Dublin, Ireland, and she worked as the research director for two leading pro-life groups in Ireland. She's appeared on numerous television and radio programs, and she should be welcomed here today. Please welcome Kate Bryan.
Good morning. In 2016, there is one Republican voice that we should be focused on when discussing immigration. This man has consistently dominated Republican politics and continues to do so. This man is loved by many, despised by others. This man has captivated television audiences and is well known for his great hair. This man has addressed immigration in a powerful way, and I truly believe that he is the man that we here at CPAC should look to when discussing this contentious and important issue. This man, of course, is Ronald Reagan. We are gathered here today under Reagan's famous words, "Our time is now." Now, these weren't words of encouragement. These were meant as a challenge to us as conservatives that our time to lead is now. It is truly our time to lead on the issue of immigration. With the political rhetoric on immigration, it seems as though there are only two sides to this issue. You're either for Obama's amnesty or you're for self-deportation. However, there is a third way, a truly conservative approach to immigration that Ronald Reagan himself supported. An approach to immigration that is based on the rule of law, but also respects the proper role of immigrants within the makeup of our society. It's an approach in which principles form policy. We currently have 11 million people living in the shadows of our country. We have a southern border that is not fully secured, and there are parts that are completely lawless, a circumstance that human traffickers, drug cartel, and terrorists are surely already taking advantage of. Our nation is facing a grave immigration crisis that is putting our national security at risk. The conservative approach to immigration begins first and foremost with guaranteeing the national security of our territory and securing our borders. Double-layer fencing, along with manpower and technology, would work to stop and deter illegal entry. We should also mandate E-Verify to ensure that only legal immigrants are employed, and fully implement a biometric entry-exit tracking system to ensure that all legal immigrants leave the country by the time their visa expires. But the truly conservative approach to immigration does not end here. It also recognizes that immigration has been good for our country and for our economy, and that the market is better equipped than the government to regulate our nation's migration flows. Now, I, just like all of you, understand the plight of the middle class. We are dealing with rising prices and stagnant wages, and we're struggling to provide for our families. But these problems are not due to immigration. Rather, our challenges are a result of flawed monetary policy, over-regulation, over-taxation, and a culture built by elites at Berkeley, Harvard, and even right here in Washington, D.C. The truth is, even in this slow-growing economy, America needs foreign workers, not just to do the jobs that Americans don't want, but to do the jobs that are necessary to create other good-paying jobs for Americans. Now, contrary to popular rhetoric, immigrants are not taking jobs away from Americans. They're actually creating jobs for Americans. And if we truly care about our middle class, we should work to facilitate the legal flow of foreign workers rather than creating obstacles to it. Take the current guest worker programs. These programs are now highly regulated and do not reflect the needs of our markets. What our country needs is an effective guest worker program, and this is a uniquely conservative proposal that is so conservative that President Obama, Democrats in Congress, big labor, and all the leftist immigration advocates vehemently oppose it. Under this program, an American company that cannot find American workers, and I repeat, cannot find American workers, can bring foreign workers into the country legally to temporarily work here. Once their work here is done, they will be sent home and may re-enter if and when they are needed again. This is the concept of circular migration that is consistent with the free market principles that we as conservatives consistently defend. The majority of law enforcement experts agree that it's unrealistic to deport 11 million people or that they're going to leave voluntarily, especially when they've been here for decades and their families are part of our communities. And many have children who are American, which is why we need to see the face of each immigrant and deal with their situation accordingly. We should grant legal status, not amnesty, to some, but not all, who have acknowledged that they broke the law and paid the appropriate penalties for their offenses. This does not mean amnesty, nor does it mean granting them a special path to citizenship. If someone wants to become a citizen, they will have to follow the current process established by law just like everyone else. America has a long tradition of immigration. President Eisenhower opened our doors to Cuban refugees. President Nixon and President Ford did the same for the Vietnamese after the Vietnam War. And Lincoln did the same for the Irish. Many of us here in this room today are the fruits of these immigration stories. The story of immigration is America's story. My ancestors traveled here from Ireland during the potato famine. They suffered greatly under British rule, and it was only because conditions were so bad that they had the courage to make the difficult journey to America. Immigrants today are facing many of the same conditions, often fleeing violence, starvation, and brutal tyranny. Being American is not determined by blood, heritage, or faith, but rather by embracing our shared history and common democratic and constitutional principles. Ronald Reagan himself once told a story of a letter that he received from a man just before he left office. Reagan said, "I don't know why this man chose to write this letter to me, but I'm glad he did. He wrote that you can go to France, but you can't become a Frenchman. You can go live in Germany or Italy, but you can't become German or Italian." He went through Turkey, Greece, Japan, and other countries, but he said anyone from any corner of the world can come to live in the United States and become an American. Amen. Our nation has always had the unique ability to embrace people from all corners of the world and make them fully American. And anyone who doubts that immigrants can assimilate and become full members of American society truly doubt America. America is not a nation of nativists. We are a nation of patriots. Nativism is not a part of the conservative philosophy, nor is it a part of America's founding. But patriotism is. As conservatives, we talk every single day about the dignity of the human person. We fight for the protection of life from conception to natural death, and we stand on the founding principles of our great nation, including the belief that every man is created equal in the eyes of God, and that every human being deserves the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The majority of today's immigrants, particularly those from Latin America, are conservative and stand with us on these principles. Look at the March for Life and the March for Marriage, where huge numbers of the Hispanic community turn out consistently every single year. It's time for us to remember our history and embrace Ronald Reagan's optimistic vision of America as the shining city on the hill, where he described in his farewell address as a tall, proud city built on rocks, stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds, living in harmony and peace, a city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. While we are in the midst of a very passionate debate about immigration, we must always remember who we are as conservatives and remain steadfast and consistent in the founding principles of our great nation. The time for us as conservatives to lead on immigration is now. God bless America.